Hi everyone, my name is Chantal and I want to save the world. That might sound a little bit ambitious to you, but as a kid that's really something that I thought I want to do. I just didn't understand why people made such a mess of the world and why did nobody take care of it? Well, for me, saving the world turned into saving vegetables. And today I'm going to tell you a story of hope, because I seriously believe that each one of you can also save the world in your own field, just by having a good idea, a good plan, and going for it. And today I want to show you my story with Kromkommer, how we try to change an existing system that doesn't function, and how we try to turn this around. I want to start with a picture of my mother. That might look a bit funny that you're speaking on a forum and you start with your mom, but for me it's very relevant because, as you can see here, it's an old picture. She's standing next to a really nice buffet. My parents used to own a restaurant, and my dad made this delicious foods for parties and weddings, and as you know what happens after the party, all this food is left over. For me, that was great because me and my sisters were allowed to eat it and enjoy this delicious food, but a lot of it went to waste. And this was actually the first time in my life that I got to see all this delicious food being wasted. But how little did I know back then the big numbers that are associated with this, because about 1/3 of all the food in the world is wasted. To me, that's amazing. If we would do that with our world oil supply, the world would go nuts. We do this with our food, the thing we need every day to survive, and nobody really seems to care. And that's what drives me every day to turn this problem around. So when we talk about food waste, how does it look like in the chain? Well, as you can see in this figure, most of it is wasted by consumers. So in the Western world, this is about 50%. But another large chunk is done to production and processing. Well, from all the food that is wasted, it's fruit and vegetables that are wasted the most. Almost half of all the fruit and vegetables in the world never make it to our plate. And that's the same in the Western world as in Africa, as in Asia, only where it takes place in the chain is differently. So for example, in industrialized countries like Europe and North America, it's more at the farm and at the consumer's house, while in Africa, for example, it's much more due to processing or not being able to store the food on the moment when it's needed. So yeah, about almost half of the fruit and vegetables. So last night, me and my Dutch colleagues and Roman went to a supermarket in Kiev because I wanted to see how do the fruit and vegetables look like in the supermarket. And I bought this apple. So for you, this is probably something you see every day. For me, it was a surprise, because I don't know if you can see it well, but there's black spots on this apple. In a Dutch supermarket, this would never be for sale. And I think even more that about 80% of all the products that were for sale there would never be sold in the Netherlands. Why? Not because it's not tasty or it's not safe, but because we think it's not pretty enough. And that's what Kromkommer is all about. This is how our supermarkets look like. They look like beauty pageants. Every carrot has the same length, they're all stacked up, they're all the same sizes, and this is what most industrialized countries see as good quality. Good quality equals perfection, good looks. Well, of course, it has nothing to do with the taste or safety, but it's something that we got used to. But of course, nature doesn't agree with this, because about 10 to 30% of all fruits and vegetables never make it to our plate because they're not pretty enough. So we have some examples here of heart-shaped tomatoes, wobbly carrots, crooked cucumbers. They're all examples of fruit and vegetables that never make it to our plates. And we think, as Kromkommer, that's ridiculous. Another reason for this is EU legislation. There are still rules in Europe that tell how fruit and vegetables should look like. If you see this kiwi over here, It's a heart-shaped kiwi. It's actually 3 kiwis stuck together. We call it a driewi. It's a Dutch word joke. Dutch people love word jokes. This one is forbidden. You're not allowed to sell it in Europe simply because it's not good looking enough. The pepper over there is, you could say, misshaped. I think it's beautiful. But therefore, you cannot sell it as class 1 in the supermarkets. So even there is still legislation, and the consumer perception of what is good quality is causing that a lot of fruit and vegetables are wasted. So this is where me and my colleagues, Jente and Lisanne, came in. We took our cucumbers and went to the battlefield, and we wanted to change this subject. And our goal is to achieve equal rights for all fruit and vegetables. And you might think it's funny, but it's actually quite serious, because what we think is, what we want to change is the consumer perception. We want that one day a consumer is in the store and thinks like, I don't care what the shape of this vegetable is, I just want to eat it. And that way, we can actually solve this problem of the waste of the wonky fruit and vegetables. So how do we do this? Well, actually, the same as we heard today, we do this together. We do it together with our community that we call the Krommunity. And the community consists of stores, restaurants, fans, and growers. We incorporate them in our business model. Kromkommer is a social enterprise, and we help them to fight for our mission. For example, we've done 4 crowdfunding campaigns to launch our products, but we also involve our fans to taste our products. And a very important part are these gentlemen in the right-hand corner. That's the growers of the wonky fruit and vegetables. And I want to take you on a journey to the south of the Netherlands, where a young zucchini grower is growing zucchinis. His name is Paul. He has a farm together with his parents, and about 10 to 15% of his whole harvest he cannot sell to the supermarkets. It's simply because the size doesn't meet the requirements, which are very strict. It's about centimeters, or they're scratched by the plant. So what he does is he takes them into his tractor, he grinds them, and they go back into the field. These are courgettes, zucchinis, that are tasty and safe. There's no need to waste them, but he can sell them. So what we do, we buy a part of these zucchinis from Paul for a fair price, because we believe these veggies are as good as the other ones, so we pay a fair price, and we turn them into delicious soups. So these soups are made from wonky vegetables. They're all very pure. We don't add sugar. We don't add additives. They're all plant-based, vegan, so everybody can enjoy them. And when consumers buy this soup, they get our story into their houses. They learn about wonky vegetables, but by eating the soup, you also become a hero, because you just rescued wonky vegetables. So who doesn't want to be a hero, right? So this is our business model, but it's also our way to change the world. And one day, we hope this is not needed anymore, because that would mean that all these vegetables end up in the shelves and not in our soup anymore. That's a bit of a weird business model, I know, because it means we don't have a business anymore. But that's what happens if you have a mission. You go for your mission, and our soup is a way to get there. So currently, you can buy our soups in supermarkets, concept stores, all over the Netherlands. For example, here you see a vegan shelf with vegan products where our soup is part of. But we also sell it in food service locations. So for example, in high schools or in universities, where people can eat our soup during the lunch break. And by selling our soup there, we can reach a lot of people that we otherwise would never be able to reach. So we make soup and rescue these wonky vegetables, but this is not the only thing we do, because we always look for creative ideas to get people to get to hear our story and to join our mission. And one of our recent projects started actually with my nephew. He was playing, maybe you've seen them before, wooden toys in vegetable shapes. But these vegetables were straight, and I was like, yeah, he's a small kid, he's playing with straight vegetables. This is where he gets the idea that it should all be perfect. So why don't we make a wonky one? So this is the result. We teamed up with Plant Toys, and Plant Toys is a sustainable toy company from Thailand. They make wooden toys out of trees, rubber trees that don't produce rubber anymore. So it's very sustainable, it's no waste, and together with them we designed these wonky vegetable toys to teach kids about perfection, and that it's not needed to have perfect vegetables to eat tasty vegetables. And currently these toys are for sale in 40 countries. Actually, I'm not 100% sure if they're for sale over here, I would have to check. But for a launch, we created a live version of these vegetables that I want to show with you.
Wasted simply because they're not pretty enough. Yet there's nothing wrong with the taste. How twisted! Kromkommer is a Dutch social enterprise that wants to spread their love for wonky fruit and vegetables among as many people as possible. And where better to begin than with the little ones? This is where Plant Toys comes in. Kromkommer and Plant Toys share a vision for a more sustainable world with less waste. What a perfect match! Plant Toys makes sustainable toys out of rubber trees that no longer produce rubber. Great toys with less waste. By working together, Plant Toys and Kromkommer developed this wonky fruit and vegetable playset. The perfectly imperfect Carl Carrot, Peter Pear, Adam Apple, Tammy Tomato Heart, and Curly the Cucumber want to become friends with as many kids as possible. You can cut them, peel them, halve them, stick them together, and then do it again and again. Do you want to help spread the love for wonky fruit and vegetables? Go to planttoys.com and find your wonky toy set nearby.
So they're also for big kids. If you want to play with it, I totally understand. We also want to reach the small kids, so this is why we started also an education program. Right now we're developing an education program for kids in the age of 8 to 12 to teach them about how vegetables grow, why they can be wonky, to teach them about food waste. So that's another way to involve kids in our story. We also do campaigns for the big kids. The big kids I call the politicians. Because as I told you, there is still EU legislation for fruit and vegetables, which we think is ridiculous. We knew that many politicians don't even know about this. So we thought, how can we reach them? How can we reach them with a story to make them interested to change this? So we did this the Kromkommer way, which means we put on a carrot suit, we go to the parliament, and we brought the forbidden fruit, as you can see, the kiwis that are not allowed. We illegally imported them from Italy. We put them in boxes, we put stickers on it that said forbidden fruit. And then we brought them in carrot suits to the politicians. Some of them accepted them in person, and the other ones we put in their mailboxes. So, of course, this is not very often that politicians get involved in a topic like this, and that's exactly why we do it. Because if you want attention for your issue, you have to think outside of the box and be creative. So that's what we did here. And the result was that one of our kiwis ended up in one of the debates. And actually, many politicians got behind the issue with the result that a motion came out of it that was accepted by the parliament. And right now, the agricultural minister has to get involved in the quality issues for food and vegetables. So roundtables started, research started, and the issue is on the political agenda. And this I tell you because I want to show you that even if you're just one person, or maybe two or three, we're the team of 3 people. We just think of this, we go do it, and you can get into the head of the politicians. So never think it's not possible. I think it is. One completely different campaign is this one. I always have to see how people respond to this. So this was on the Pride in Amsterdam, but you probably already saw that. The message of the Pride is that you should, that we like diversity. We like diverse people in whatever way possible. And of course, Kromkommer is all about diversity. So what we do is we put on our carrot suits, we bring our wonky fruit and vegetables, we go to the Pride and we hand out the vegetables. And you see people thinking like, what are you doing here with vegetables? The first they are confused, but then you explain why we're there and what we're doing, and you make people smile. And we believe if you want to change people, talk to their hearts and not to their heads, because that's how people remember. And I know that if you got a carrot here or a cucumber and you go to the supermarket next day, there's no way you're not thinking about those. You think about those wacky people on the Pride that give you this cucumber. So one of the last campaigns that I want to share with you is a campaign we did with the zucchinis I told you about before. Because what we notice, if you tell people we waste 1/3 of all the food, people think like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that's a lot. But how do you get people to be involved in this? And I think what's needed is not so much knowledge, because in the Netherlands, people know quite a bit about food waste, but they don't feel like they have to get involved. So we try to find ways to get into people's hearts. And so what we did here is we got the waste from a grower from 3 days. This is 9 tons of zucchini. So this is from 3 days from one grower. Can you imagine how many growers there are and how much that is? And we put it in the middle of Dam Square, in the middle of Amsterdam. We just put this container there. And it says equal rights for all fruit and vegetables. You can imagine if you're there in the middle of Amsterdam, people are like, what are you doing? What is this? We explain people about this enormous waste, and this is why this is how you get people involved in the issue. People take pictures, share it on social media, ask if they can be part of it. And this is how we try to involve people in our mission. And we can see that in the last 7 years that we're doing this, the topic has changed. It became a topic on the agenda. Wonky vegetables is a thing. It's spreading in Europe, and we really believe that things are going to change. And that's partly due to what we do, but definitely because of the community that is involved in our mission to make this succeed. So I have one final question to you all. Please become part of our community and join our movement. Find us on social media. If you have ideas, questions, please talk to us and make sure that we get wonky vegetables back onto our plates.